Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, sharpshooters. My name is Deadshot, host of Warframe Mornings over on Twitch. And today we are back at it again with another build showcase video. Today I'm going over Gyre. Gyre Prime just released, figured it's good time to do a bit of a build, a bit late to the punch. But I've been seeing a lot of questions and different people asking about how to mod Gyre, what to use for Archon charts, and that kind of fun stuff. So I figured I would give you guys two different selections of two different builds that I've come up with. One of them is going to be more of an abilities platform so that you can spam your abilities all day and deal shit tons of damage. Then the other one is going to be a weapons platform that will basically be centered around buffing your shotgun, because we're going to be using a shotgun for that build. And trying to maintain as much electrical damage as you can possibly muster. All right, and we're going to jump straight into this abilities platform build right away here. In the aura slot, we're going to start off strong with Energy Siphon, as this will give us that 0.6% energy regen. This is going to be beneficial, and you'll see how this works in a moment. Primed Sure-Footed to stay on our feet and maintain our damage. If you don't have it, I am so sorry. Go back in time and play for longer. I don't know what to tell you. Best mod in the game, hands down. Blind Rage for our ability strength modifier. We're going to lose that ability efficiency, but that's okay. We've got Equilibrium, which is going to give us health to energy and energy to health with that extra 10% bonus, so we will be just fine. Then we've got Archon Stretch for that ability range, and any abilities that deal electrical damage will restore 2 energy over time, which is not bad. This will be part of our energy regen capabilities. And because this is a double augmented build, our first augment is going to be Cathode Current. This is going to be an augment for our Cathode Grace ability, which is our third. Eliminating enemy while Cathode Grace is active will release an additional discharge from Rotor Swell with 200% additional damage and extend its duration by the same amount. So this will help maintain your fourth as well as keep your third active, as your third stays active based on kills anyways. So this will also help keep your fourth active based on kills. This means that there's only 2 abilities left for us to spam. And then we've got Reverse Rotor Swell as our second augment. This is going to give us a 35% damage reduction, as that damage received is going to be redirected towards the instigator as electricity damage. So this will also help the spread of our electricity damage and help keep our enemies procced with those beautiful shock procs. Primed Continuity for that ability duration so that we can keep our abilities up for a little bit longer. Primed Flow for the energy pool. And Rolling Guard for the status cleansing. That's very important. I found that this was more important to have on Gyre than Primed Redirection. I tried that out for a little while. I died a lot to Toxic, so we're not going to do that. We're going to use Rolling Guard to help prevent that. For our... holy crap, I just totally forgot it. Arcanes. We're going to be using Molt Augmented for that 60% ability strength at 250 kills. And we're going to be using Arcane Circumvent for our defense. This allows us to roll through enemies and steal 50% of their defenses for ourselves, and that lasts for 15 seconds. So this is actually pretty strong, as it'll also steal Overguard. Now, when you steal Overguard with it, that Overguard doesn't actually have a time limit. That goes until it breaks. So as long as you're stealing Overguard, you can basically Overguard gate, you can shield gate, and you don't have to worry about dying that much. It's a very wonderful combination. Now, going over her abilities, starting with her passive, Gyre's abilities have a 10% chance to deal critical damage for each electrical status effect that affects the enemy. Very powerful. Very powerful, as if you have a lot of enemies, you can end up with red crits on your abilities very easily. Her first is going to be the Arc Sphere, and this is going to be launching a gyratory sphere that will deal high damage on impact and periodically deal electric shocks to nearby enemies. Hit multiple enemies at once with the initial launch to enhance the damage. So the more enemies you hit, the more damage you end up dealing. And this guy will last for about 15 seconds per instance, and you can have 3 instances active at a time. This is going to be really good for your own personal defense, as you can basically pull the enemies into the field. you can stand in the middle of the field and the enemies will just basically drop dead from all the electric procs that's going to be stuck on them. And for our second ability, we are going to be using a helmet swap for Aqua Blades. I thought this was an absolutely hilarious combination, as with Gyre, your entire intention is to get close to the enemies so that they end up getting caught in your rotor swell, so they take the electric procs from that, as well as taking the electric procs from your arc sphere. And because we're going to be using multiplicative Archon shards to help multiply our ability damage, Aqua Blades is going to multiply with those Archon shards. So you're going to be dealing that much more slash damage. So we're going to be stripping shields and we're going to be attacking the health of our enemies directly. It is very brutal and very deadly. Oh, there goes my cursor. Her third, Cathode Grace, gain a brief burst of increased critical chance and energy regen, with each kill extending the duration of Cathode Grace. Casting is on a cooldown. I think that cooldown is something like 60 seconds. Yep, there it is. So as long as you can have your ability last longer than that 60 seconds, you actually will not have to worry about that cooldown delay. The duration on this will last about 12 seconds, but of course each kill is going to get you almost 5 seconds per, and you're getting a near 100% critical chance increase. That's going to be brought further with our Molt Augmented. That is not going to be at our full ability strength. That is only with the 199 from Blind Rage. As well as we are going to be getting an even bigger increase in energy regen. So you can see energy regen, energy regen, energy regen. Energy is not a problem with Gyre at all. And we can keep this going for as long as we can keep getting kills. And then, of course, we have Rotor Swell. Gyre's mechanisms spin at incredible speeds, generating an electrical field that shocks nearby enemies. And when Gyre gets a critical hit, a large electrical discharge will chain from the enemy that was hit to nearby enemies, which we'll be doing a lot of crits because of our passive, which is going to be great. The duration is about 30 seconds, but we won't have to worry about that because Cathode Grace is going to be extending that for us. Damage is pretty solid on it, and the damage is going to be multiplied further from our Archon shards. And then the reverse Rotor Swell, as you can see, is going to be giving us up to a 69% damage reduction from incoming damage. And that is going to get redirected to our enemies with a 19% status chance. Again, that's going to be brought up even further once we can increase our ability strength from this 199% to 259%, which is what's going to end up being at full stacks of Augmented. All right, so that's Gyre. That's the build. That's her abilities. That's how we're going to be playing it. Moving on to her primary weapon, we're going to be rocking the Cedo Prime, as this is a very solid and reliable shotgun. Very basic build going on here. We're going to rock some Galvanized Savvy for some extra status chance and that direct damage per status effect on enemies up to 2 stacks. Very wonderful multiplier there. Magnetic Strafe for that magnetic damage and the fire rate. Amalgam Shotgun Barrage for the fire rate and revive speed. Revive speed, less important, but it does definitely help out when you're playing in co-op or playing with randoms. Right, revive speed is never a bad thing. We've got Chilling Reload for the cold damage and reload speed. Granted, we have Chilling Grasp for that cold damage as well, but I didn't have a whole lot of mod capacity left, so Chilling Reload was all I could fit in there. Then we've got Toxic Barrage for that toxin damage. That's what's going to give us some viral, so that we can help increase the damage of our abilities that much further, right? Because viral increases the damage to health up to 325% at 10 stacks. So we're going to be hoping to take advantage of some of that with our abilities. And then you got Galvanized Hell for more multi-shot and Primed Ravage for that critical damage. And we're also going to be running Primary Overcharge, as we're going to be having, as we have a lot of energy, we're going to have a lot of energy regen. We're going to be getting a fair amount of multi-shot out of Primary Overcharge. I think for my testing, I ended up getting somewhere around 240% multi-shot just from this mod. It is hilarious. And it works out a lot better than I initially intended, or initially anticipated, sorry, for it to work out. Moving on to our secondary, it's going to be one that we've seen before. Very reliable, the dual Coda Torxicas. And it's going to be my electricity setup. So we're going to start out with Prime Convulsion for our electricity bonus damage. Hornet Strike for the base damage multiplier, Lethal Torrent for the fire rate and multi-shot, Creeping Bullseye for the critical chance and the neg fire rate, which doesn't matter, Pistol Elementalist for the status damage and reload speed, Magnetic Might for the magnetic damage and critical damage, Merciless Gunfight for the critical damage and the punch through benefit, and then Galvanized Diffusion for that multi-shot and multi-shot multiplier. Primed Steady Hands to reduce the recoil, and finally Conjunction Voltage for the reload speed and further multi-shot. We all know this is going to stack really nicely with Gyre, as this also will stack passively. So you're constantly going to have full stacks of Conjunction Voltage. So every time you swap to your pistols, you will have them with that 40 stack. And then of course the other 1.5 damage increase from the cold procs on your enemies. And then finally we have the Preodos for the two things on here, for the parkour velocity and the sprint speed and slide bonus. Our companion of choice is going to be Nautilus Prime with a suction build, as I like to refer to it as. Thanks for the introduction, Margulis. We love you. So our companion build, I've had to work with it a fair bit to try and make this work as well as it possibly could. And I tell you, it works well. You will constantly be sucking enemies into the radius of your aqua blades and your rotor swell, as well as if you're standing within that arc sphere, you'll be dragging them into that arc sphere as well, because with Manifold Bond, you are going to be reducing the cooldown of your companion's abilities repetitively and constantly, and they're going to have a lot of status effects on them. So as they die, you're going to be regenning the cooldowns of your companion, allowing them to suck in the enemies much more frequently, right? As Nautilus forces enemies within 30 meters to the target in clusters for easier targeting. This is going to make it so that we turn Gyre basically into a giant meat grinder. It's going to be great. Tenacious Bond is going to be used for that 1.2 times final critical damage multiplier. If your companion's critical chance is over 50%, and with the Volk Lock, it's over 50%. Shield Charger for that increase in max shields and energy and shield regen. Sorry, my bad. Vacuum for that pickup range, very basic. Synth Fiber, Synth Deconstruct for the health orb generation and the ability to pick them up regardless of your current health status. Primed Animal Instinct for the loot radar and enemy radar, and then Guardian to make sure that we have our shields up as much as possible for those moments that we don't have Overguard. Moving on to the Volk Lock, another fresh Forma on her, so she's level 0 at the moment, which is fine. We're going to be rocking Critical Delay. That's going to give us that 105% critical chance, making sure that we have that Tenacious Bond bonus. And then we're also going to be running Malignant Force and Rhyme rounds for that viral damage. My Riven on here is going to be for damage and multi-shot and punch through. If you don't have a Riven, that's fine. You can use something like Hammer Shot. I know that's an option that you can use on here. Whoa, there goes my cursor again. Or you can use like a couple other mods that you can use as well. You can use a Galvanized mod if you want. It's up to you and what you choose to put here, but it does not have to be a Riven. Then we've got Split Chamber for multi-shot, Vigilante Armaments for multi-shot, giving us a whopping 3.3 multi-shot for the Volk Lock. Lots of multi-shot there. And then we're going to have Vigilante Fervor for that fire rate. And these mods are chosen for their set bonus of adding that 10% chance to enhance the critical hits from your primary weapons. So this basically means if you were to hit a yellow tier crit, it means that you're going to, if you get this bonus to proc, you're going to get an orange crit. Very lovely, very easy. It's going to increase my DPS a little bit further. And yes, these do work regardless. Then finally, our Arch Gun does indeed matter, as these matter. Right, so in our secondary slot, we're going to be running Cascadia Overcharge. So this is going to give our secondary further critical chance should we be swapping to it. And then I'm going to test out and see if Primary Debilitate works on an Arch Gun, and see if it'll still proc on your primary, because that would be hilarious. And I gotta see if that works. So that is the build. That is our setup. That's what we're going to be rocking. Now, of course, in classic Deadshot fashion, we are going to pick the highest level mission that we possibly can at the moment, and that is going to be Circulus non-steal. I did not mean to put it into a squad. Of course, I forget that it's on fucking public and not on solo. I would. So whatever poor soul is just gonna go, what the hell is wrong with me as I do that. I can still hear like Noko noises. It's hilarious. Yeah. Get out of my face. Okay. My apologies. Solo. Circulus, levels 180 to 200. Highest levels on the star chart as of right now. I would pick the Omni Relic if I could, but that is just unfortunately not an option right now. If that wasn't already obvious. Take those guys out real quick. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of extra energy to start. See if we can wait for it to proc again before they show up. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to cast Cathode Grace. We're going to cast a Rotor Swell. And we're going to cast that. And that's going to basically be the end of everybody. And you will see that Nautilus is going to be sucking in the enemies repetitively. We're going to cast Aqua Blades. Cast another Sphere. And then you can steal their defenses so that you die less. I need an XMI to showcase the extra damage, but anyways. I also forgot to do my double Void Sling to get the extra casting speed and extra ability strength so that we can cast our abilities a little bit quicker and have further ability strength added to our multipliers. Like it matters, as you can see. You deal lots of damage, steal all the defenses. It also helps keep your shields up as you do steal the shields from your enemies as well. But the biggest thing that we're looking for is to steal Overguard. But yeah, as you can see, very brutal, very deadly. Oh, here we go. Nope, still no Overguard? No? None? Okay, word. Feels a little strange, but whatever. Okay, so we'll chill in here. Toss that over there, why not? But yeah, you basically don't have to worry about recasting your third ever or your fourth ever. All you gotta do is worry about priming enemies, which is what the Cedo is mainly there for. Your Cedo is going to be your primer. That's why we got Viral on there, to make sure that we are increasing the amount of damage our enemies take to the health, as slash damage will also affect the health directly. Right, so we're stripping shields and stripping health. So really, armor strip is not needed on a build like this. You won't have any issues taking out enemies. As you can tell, they are dropping like flies. Right, there's the Overguard that I've been trying to show off. There we go. Okay. And we can do all of that. Oh, I see. They stole my gun from me again. That's not cool. Give me my gun back, please. All right. Yeah, and you see that Overguard lasts a good long time as long as you're not taking a whole lot of damage or a whole lot of hits. And it always refreshes to 10,000 Overguard. So as much as that seems like a lot, it really isn't once you get into like really high level content, especially once you start getting towards level cap towards that level 9,999. But with the way that we have our damage stacking, it should be more than comfortable enough to take you into those kinds of levels. Even with this build, right? Even with the ability, even with the overguard being as low as it is, you should still have no problems being able to reset it, as once that breaks, it can't go into your shields, and once your shields break, it can't go into your health right away. So we just sit by and mainly let our abilities do the killing, let the abilities do the talking. As yeah, the grouping ability from Nautilus is very effective. You can group up a lot of enemies very quickly. Brings them into the radius of your Aqua Blades, bring them into the radius of the Rotor Swell. And they regret their life choices. Hello, Angst. Can you leave, please? Just roll through everybody real quick. And the funny part is, this build also takes out Acolytes fairly easily as well. Other than, obviously, our main contender, Violence. Because, you know, he just wants us to not cast abilities ever, which is honestly fine. All right, so this is abilities. Gyre, very powerful. Lot of fun. Highly recommend this build. Go give it a try, especially with the Aqua Blades. It's not a swap I see a whole lot when it comes to build craft on the internet, so I highly recommend. Give it a try, see what you think. And now we are going to be moving on to the weapons platform that I've come up with. Once it loads. And for that, we're only going to be swapping a couple of minor pieces of equipment. Our focus school is going to stay the same. We're still going to be repping the Materite skill tree. Our secondary and our melee are going to remain the same. We're still going to be rocking the Praedos and the dual Coda Toxicas. The difference is this time we're going to be running the Kuva Sobek. And to go over that one real quick, we're going to be running Primed Point Blank for the base damage multiplier, Galvanized Hell for more multi-shot, Acid Shells, the thing that makes Sobek so damn powerful. And that is going to be enemies explode on death, dealing 450 corrosive damage, plus 45% of the enemy max health in a 15-meter radius. So this basically scales as long as your enemy health is going up, the damage of this is going up. It's broken. It's fun. We're also going to be running Scattering Justice. This is going to be another fun part of this build. It's going to give us plus 90% status chance and plus 1 justice. That is going to give us a 25-meter blast explosion, restoring 25 health and increasing our armor by 15% for 30 seconds. It's not too bad, but that restoring of 25% health is invaluable, as there's many times where I think that's even saved my ass. Primed Counterbalance for that lack of recoil, because this gun kicks like a freaking donkey. Primed Ravage for the critical damage. Chilling Grasp for the cold damage. Critical Deceleration for the critical chance and neg fire rates. And to make up for that negative fire rate, we're going to be using Amalgam Shotgun Barrage for the increase in fire rates. And then, of course, similar to the Cedo, we're also going to be rocking Primary Overcharge. While at or above 90% energy, gain 30% of max energy as multi-shot, capped at 350%. So that is going to give us up to that 240% aforementioned multi-shot. And we have Prime Chilling Grasp with a Toxic Valence to create a Viral, because this is another build where Viral is going to be super important. But luckily with this build, we will have alternate ways of spreading it. You'll see what I mean in a moment. For this build, for our weapons platform, we are going to be going with Corrosive Projection in the Aura. Shocker. Primed Sure-Footed, because we don't want to be on our ass. Blind Rage, because we like our ability strength. Equilibrium for the health and energy conversions. Archon Stretch for the energy regen and the ability range. And the thing that makes it a weapons platform is the Conductive Sphere Augment. Projectiles that pass through an arc sphere have guaranteed electricity status effect and 75% electricity damage. That 75% electricity damage scales with ability strength. So that's only going to be increased by your ability strength modifier and further by molt augmented once we get there. Transient fortitude to give us even more ability strength, giving us a 254%. Primed continuity to help counteract some of that negative ability duration and give us more ability duration. Primed flow for the energy pool, and then rolling guard for the status cleansing and invulnerability. And for this build, we're going to be utilizing arcane concentration as well. This is going to give us 60% ability duration on ability cast. So we're going to cast an ability as a fodder ability and then cast up the rest of your lineup to try and make sure that you have as much duration as possible, so that we're trying not to cast our abilities as much as possible, because quite frankly, that's boring. We don't want to be casting our abilities that much. For our abilities, we've already gone over the other ones, so I'm just going to go over my Helmness swap, which is going to be over her second once again, and it's going to be, surprise, surprise, Roar. This is wonderful because we all know this is a very, very beautiful universal faction damage multiplier. So this is going to double dip in damage at the very minimum, because it's going to increase the damage of your initial shot, and then it's going to increase the damage of any status effects that you deal. But this could even triple, and I think maybe possibly it might quadruple dip with the way this build is set up. I might be wrong on that one, but I know at the very least with this setup, it'll triple dip, because it'll increase the damage of which the arc sphere can do, and then it'll increase the damage of our projectiles further. You see what I'm saying? It'll go really far to increase our damage, and that 76% is definitely not the minimum that it stays at. I think this goes up. I've seen it go over 100%. So you can get a pretty nasty increase from Roar on its own with this build. And the same setup is going to be for the Archon Shard setup. Obviously, is going to be the exact same. 15% ability damage on all enemies affected by the electric status effect, which we will obviously be proccing a lot of between the Arc Sphere and our bullets going through that Arc Sphere, plus Rotor Swell and some of the other things we have to proc electric. And then you have your 1 Amber Archon Shard for that casting speed, because there's some abilities of Gyres that just need that little bit of extra casting speed. All right, let's get into how this build is put together and how it works. And this one I'm going to try and go over very shortly. I'm probably going to end up abandoning this mission halfway through. It's fine. I really don't care. Just want to show this off enough to get the point across. And because I've got to get into combat right away. Right, like the Kuva Sobek does do work on its own, but we're going to make it do even more. I did not want to do that. That worked. Okay, so we're going to pop that real quick. Hit that. All right. Cast that, cast that, cast that, and then we just start firing. Wow, already, hey? I bet you that's a stalker. Fucking called it! Okay, we're gonna cast that again. Now we're gonna cast Roar. Roar is something that we're gonna have to recast. There's nothing that we can do about that. Cast Rotor Swell, as that's also something we've got to recast now. We don't have that augment on there anymore, nor do we care for it. Come on, bitch. Okay, yeah, he's actually kind of scary. I'm gonna die, aren't I? I'm gonna fucking die. Yep. I hate getting hit with a stalker when, like, you're just not expecting it. Okay, can we stop stealing my gun now, please? That would be lovely. Okay, sure. Just, like, instantly need to reload. I know how to play Warframe. This second run is not quite going as well for me as I would have preferred, but you know what? It is what it is. Shit happens, right? Okay, fodder, cast. Please die faster. Okay, of course. I know how to play Warframe, I swear. This build obviously not as tested as I would like, but that is fine. It still does do a lot of damage. I think this one needs a little bit more. Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah, it needs something else. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Okay, I need to find another way to increase the damage reduction on Gyre, because this is fucking ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Alright, but still. It is still a build I recommend you try out for yourself. As much as that didn't quite go as well as I would like it to, the point is still the same. She can still be a pretty decent weapons platform. Just maybe not as solo as I would like it to be, but that's fine. I'm not worried about that. But that being said, that is Gyre for you. She definitely works better as a abilities platform over a weapons platform, but that's not to say that you can't make her work as a weapons platform to help enhance the damage of your weapons. I do hope that you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope that you do have some takeaways from this. Thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end of this video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on the video if you did enjoy, and leave a comment and let me know your thoughts. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video and in the next stream. Catch you later.